Matthew Moore's MM Woods here. Today is Monday, October 9th, which means it's time for another shop update. Alright, well, it's been a great week here in the shop. As you can see, the new tool cabinet is on the wall. Let me walk you through everything that happened this week. The first thing I did after finishing the drawers was to get the back cut to fit and installed. So once I measured the width and the height of the cabinet, I then transferred those measurements to a really nice sheet of Baltic birch plywood, and then with a circular saw and a straight edge, I cut those to length and width. Around the whole case, there's material in the upper corners of each side. So I had to transfer that pattern to the Baltic birch plywood, and with my Dozuki saw, I was able to cut away that material and then drop the back into the case. I had to screw the back to the case around the edges as well as where the shelf was. So of course I drew some lines when I was doing this as well to make sure that where I was going to drill there'd actually be wood. The next thing I did was of course bring down my old cabinet, and I found where center was between the door and the wall here, marked that, and I brought over some heavy duty construction paper that I have over at my assembly table that I use for like glue ups and when I'm doing finishing to protect the table. And I brought that over, but before I did that, I squared up by folding over one end and close to square, making sure it fit down the center of my cabinet. Cut that a waist away, and I also cut it for length at the same time. Now my goal here was to place my lag bolts where they wouldn't be seen. Behind the drawers, those are two lag bolts there, you're never going to see them. So with 4 lag bolts here that are 3 inches long, I'm feeling pretty confident that they're going to hold this case, because they were holding the old case as well with all the tools in it like before. And that's plywood veneered walnut versus real walnut. So this case actually weighs less than the old one does. So now I brought over that construction paper to the back itself, and I just drilled through where I marked out where my studs were. Then I brought the construction sheet over to the back, and I drilled my pilot holes for my lag bolts there. And once that was done, I was able to do a little bit of sanding and throw on a coat of finish. Then I was able to line up with my original holes, and boom, 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 boom. Now I've got a ton of tools on my bench that I unloaded, and the first ones I wanted to work with was my sawtill, because I haven't had a sawtill ever, and I wanted to get that in. Now for me, I've only got 3 major saws that I use. I have a dovetail saw here from Lie-Nielsen. I have a Lie-Nielsen tapered carcass saw, and this is good for like tenons and dados and cross cuts, where this is mainly for dovetails. And these 2 saws are great. And then I upgraded from the panel saw I've been using in the past, which was just a DeWalt panel saw. It was fine, nothing wrong with it, but I wanted another, well, I wanted them all to match. So I went out and bought a Lie-Nielsen panel saw as well. So I wanted these guys to go here, so let me walk you through the sawtill now. Now I only have 3 saws. If you had 4 or more, you could adjust this layout. But basically I brought the saws over to a piece of lumber that was a cutoff from the project, and I marked out where the blade would go in relation to the width of the handle, so I'd have room on either side to put them in and for them not to hit each other. Now with that marked out for the 3 saws, I brought that piece over to the bandsaw, and I started by pushing in, and I lifted up at the back to give a 10 to 15 degree, somewhere in between there, closer to 15 degree cut. And then I figured out the height I wanted for this back piece, and the shorter one, cut those to length. For the round one here, I helped myself out and did some 45 degree bevel cuts, brought down the top, rounded it over, and that's the back portion here. And that supports the back part of the panel saw, and then the dovetail and carcass saws, they're curved in the back. This rests against that, and in front I have another piece that stops the saw from tilting forwards, and it worked out really well. I drilled some holes, screwed everything into the case, made sure of course it was square, and now I've got my sawtill in the case, and I'm pretty stoked about that. So yeah, I can't wait to show you more. I'm going to spend the rest of this next week starting to fill this thing up. What did you guys work on this week? What did you do in the shop? I'm really curious. Let me know. Leave that in the comments below. And as always, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, hit the like button, share in your timeline, and head over to the MM Woodsteel page and like us there as well. And as always, have a great week in your shop.